Fear. Why do we trust fear more than we trust logic? Fear changes people. It makes us act before we think. It makes us blame people who are innocent. And sometimes that fear can grow so large that it doesn't affect just one person, it controls entire societies. My name is Mossa, and welcome back to another episode of Inside Breakdown. Today, I'm looking at how two different stories, The Crucible by Arthur Miller and Death Note by Tsugumi Oba and Takashi Obata, exposes the contradictions inside human experience. One story takes place in a strict Puritan village in 1692, and the other in modern Japan. Both stories are different, but they prove the same thing. When people are scared, they stop thinking logically, they follow the crowds, they trust the louder voices, and they convince themselves of doing the right thing, even when they're not. In The Crucible, a whole community collapses because of fear and accusations. In Death Note, the entire world panics over a mysterious killer. Both of these films show us how humans crave order and safety, yet often destroy those things the moment fear gets involved. The Crucible is about the Salem witch trials of 1692, where a young woman, Abigail Williams, leads a group of girls in making false accusations of witchcraft against other villagers. At its core, it explores how mass hysteria, personal vendettas, and fear can corrupt the legal system, leading to the persecution and execution of innocent people, particularly focusing on the tragic fate of farmer John Proctor. The Crucible shows how fear can spread like a virus, but the virus doesn't start in the courtroom. It starts with a single lie. A group of girls dance in the forest. They know they'll get in trouble because they're performing a ritual. So Abigail, the leader of this group, doesn't confess. She flips the blame instantly. She screams,
"Kiss his hand! I saw Sarah good with the devil! I saw Goody out born with the devil!"
In the end, there's no evidence that what they're saying is true, but Salem believes them. Why? Because fear was already inside them. All they had to do was activate that fear. Miller shows us that hysteria doesn't come from nowhere. Salem is already religiously strict, terrified of sin, scared of punishment, and desperate for purity. They're already on the edge. Abigail just has to light the match. From here, fear turns into a weapon. The court becomes the engine of paranoia. The judges believe they are holy men, chosen by God. Danforth, the lead judge, declares, "We burn a hot fire here, it melts down all concealment." But the fire doesn't melt concealment. It melts reason, it melts logic, it melts basic fairness. Miller uses the courtroom scenes to show how a major paradox in human experiences, the people who think they're protecting the truth, often becomes the one destroying it. The characters collapse under fear, because fear is louder than honesty. Mary Warren tries to tell the truth. She tries to expose Abigail. When Abigail turns the court against her, Mary breaks. She returns to the accusations she betrays Proctor to save herself. This is what Miller is trying to warn us about. Fear turns ordinary people into weapons. Even the strongest characters fall into chaos. Rebecca Nurse, the most respected, moral person in town, is accused and sentenced. Giles Corey is crushed for refusing to confess. John Proctor gets hanged because he refuses to lie and pour blush on his name. Miller uses Salem to send a message that fits every generation. Hysteria happens when fear replaces logic, and once fear takes over, truth becomes dangerous. Now let's jump into the anime, Death Note. It's a completely unique text, but strangely it exposes the exact same weakness in human nature. The anime begins when Light Yagami, aka Kira, finds the Death Note. At first he claims he wants justice, he wants to fix crime, he wants a better world, but the moment criminals start dying on the news, the world reacts instantly. Fear spreads even faster in a digital society. News channels report mysterious deaths, people whisper online, crowds become paranoid, and slowly, people start worshipping Kira. Not because he's right, but because fear makes them feel safe. This is the same cycle we see in Salem. Fear. Fear gives obedience. Obedience gives even more fear, and even more fear gives blind obedience. It's the exact same human contradiction Miller writes about. The creators use modern media, TV broadcast, and global surveillance, and crowd reactions to show how panic spreads in a world with technology. Fear doesn't move person to person like in Salem. Now, it spreads through screens, headlines, phones, and internet culture. One of the strongest lines in the whole story of Death Note comes from L, the detective chasing Light. He says, "Kira is childish and hates to lose." This line completely destroys Light's god complex. He's not the hero he thinks he is. He's insecure, he's power hungry, he manipulates the world by exploiting fear, just like Abigail does and just like the court. People who worship Kira because fear convinces them he's just justice. But the truth is, fear makes people ignore basic morality. They stop asking, who gave Kira the right to decide who deserves to die? What happens if he's wrong? What if innocent people get caught in the crossfire? Fear blinds them, and again, innocent people suffer. Ray Penbar, Naomi Misor, countless nameless victims in the story. Just like the Crucible, Death Note shows how fragile society becomes when fear paves the way. Let's bring both these texts together. One is a historical play, and one is a psychological anime. But they expose the same contradictions in human nature. 1. People think they're doing the right thing, but cause major harm. Salem claims to be purifying the town. Kira claims he's purifying the world, but both end up killing the innocent. 2. People obey fear more than logic. In Salem, evidence doesn't matter. Accusations equal guilt. Truth becomes irrelevant. In Japan, rumors become truth. Fear overrides critical thinking, and society accepts murder for safety. No one questions anything. 3. Leaders abuse power. Danforth refuses to admit the court is wrong. Light refuses to admit he is becoming evil. Both hide behind justice, both are drunk on power. They want to protect their names from the world. 4. Innocent people are punished. Proctor, Rebecca, Giles, and so many more have to pay the price for the girls' lies. Penbar, Misora, and many others simply die for getting too close to Kira to finding out his identity. Fear doesn't punish the guilty, it punishes whoever is easiest to blame. 5. Truth becomes a threat. Proctor is hanged for his honesty. Elle dies because he gets too close to uncovering the truth. Both texts show that in hysterical societies, truth becomes a threat. These parallels show that this human behavior has not changed. The technology changes, the setting changes, but the core reactions, fear, panic, power, blame, they all stay the same. Even though these texts are decades apart, they still feel modern because we still make the same mistakes. When something scary happens, crime, crisis, rumors, or global events, people react instantly online without thinking. We accuse people with no proof, we share misinformation, we panic before checking facts, we follow whatever narrative feels comforting, and we attack others online without evidence. Fear spreads faster than truth, and once fear goes viral, logic disappears. Both the Crucible and Death Note warns us to slow down, think carefully, look at evidence, and question authority, instead of letting fear turn us into followers. The Crucible and Death Note, in the end they may look different, but they expose the same truth about humans. We want justice, but we often create chaos. We want safety, but we trust the wrong leaders. We want clarity, but fear makes everything blurry. Do you remember what I asked at the beginning? Well, the answer is, fear protects us, even when it's wrong.